Now we're going to cover a few different areas of LinkedIn that are still very important, but are generally confined to your profile page and are not necessarily as crucial as your profile picture, your first and your last name, or your headline. But keep in mind, these areas are displayed on your LinkedIn, so we're definitely going to want to fill these areas out when we're building out our LinkedIn profile. So we're going to be covering the location, connections, and open to work of your profile, as well as potentially services, which you don't necessarily need to fill out unless you are a business or a consultant or a contractor. Then we're going to be covering the featured as well as activity sections of your LinkedIn, which both have to deal with your various posts that are made to your profile, as well as your experience and your education. So now let's dive into your location, connections, and open to work status. So below your headline, here we have your location. As you can see for mine, I've set mine to the greater Chicago area. And for my connections, you can see I have over 500 connections. Now, one important thing on LinkedIn is once you get past 500 connections, it doesn't necessarily display all of your connection count publicly. So one of the main things people will do when they're building out their LinkedIn profile is they'll get their profile to the point where they have 500 or more connections displayed, because at 500 connections, that's where it visually caps out. You're not going to see someone with more than 500 connections. LinkedIn kind of just sets an automatic 500 plus, and it makes your profile really stand out because it shows that you have at least over 500 connections. Now, your open to work status is great if you're looking for a new role. So this can actually help recruiters find your profile, and you can list out a few of the different job titles that you're looking to get or that you're open to. We're going to be showing hands-on on how you can actually set your open to work, but just keep in mind for right now, that is an important area if you're actively looking for a job. One last thing, your location is still important to set. I do recommend that you set your location to wherever you're currently living, because when you're going to apply for different jobs or network with people or reach out to hiring managers, many times people will pop right on your profile, and you can see here visually it's at the upper part of your profile. So people will gauge that's where you're located, and most people will gauge that's where your work opportunities will be unless you're looking to work remote. Now let's go into services here. And again, as I mentioned earlier, services aren't necessarily required to fill out in your profile. In fact, if you're not running a business, or you're not working in consulting, or you're not working in something like contracting where you're constantly looking for clients, then offering services might not be the most needed thing for your profile. Now, if you are doing some of those things, you own a business in some sort, or you're operating in some sort of consultancy or contracting capacity, then filling out the services is just great, and I highly do recommend it. But again, this isn't necessarily an area that you need to fill out if you're a regular full-time employee or you're just getting started in your career. In terms of featured and activity on LinkedIn, on the featured section, this is essentially your best posts. So you can remove posts, you can add posts here. Generally, you'll post something and then you'll add it to your featured. Now, for me, I went ahead and I put out my book on LinkedIn. And additionally, I went ahead and I posted a few different articles of myself. So a few different blog articles that I made, as well as a few different articles that have featured me in them. Now, generally, the best profiles on LinkedIn, from what I've seen, will use a combination of different posts, different featured links outside of LinkedIn, but you can really customize this to make the most sense for your profile. And I'll be talking about this a little bit more once we go more hands-on here. Now, in terms of activity, this is your broad posts. So if you've got a lot of different posts, you're going to see those there. You're going to see your posts, your comments, as well as your images. So keep in mind, if you make your view settings to public for featured and activity, a lot of people are going to see this. Now, I don't believe that LinkedIn will show you the actual follower count that someone has. I think it's only showing that because it's my profile and because I'm logged into my profile. But just keep in mind, for activity, you can see someone's posts, comments, or images if they have that setting enabled to make it public. So this is where all of your posts are going to be. And right now, we won't delve too much into posts. Just keep in mind, later throughout this course, we'll talk about a few different post ideas that you can use, as well as what's most appropriate to post in your featured as well as your activity. And lastly, we have our experience and education. Now, for experience, what we're talking about here is generally either job experience or some sort of volunteer or internship experience. I do not recommend that you put really anything else. Your experience section, for the most part, people are expecting to view your job history here. So I highly suggest that you keep that in mind. And for your experience section, just keep it confined to what you've actually done as far as work experience. Now, in the experience section, you can put the dates of employment that you've had, companies that you've worked for, the job title that you had when working, whether it was remote or not, as well as a list of the different things that you've done for that job and various skills that you learned or picked up or used while on the job. Now, in terms of education, your education here is going to be strictly either your high school or your college or any sort of formal education. Now, I don't recommend that you put your certifications in the education section of your LinkedIn. Again, this is meant for more of your formal degree or whatever formal education that you've had, and we'll be talking about certifications and where to put those in the next section. And now we're going to move into the LinkedIn hands-on section of these different topics and areas of your profile. So as you can see, and as we talked about, your location information here will be displayed. You can go ahead and edit that through the pencil icon right here at the upper portion of your profile. And then from here, what you can do is you can go ahead and scroll down and you can add your location. Now, depending on your location, you might have an option for different cities or different parts of a specific city. For me, I just set mine to the greater Chicago area. So in that case, it'll be displayed on my profile. Now, if you don't want to display, for some reason, your location at all, like if you have some sort of privacy concerns, you can just go ahead and not fill this information out and it'll leave your location out. So if we go ahead and do that, you can see it's going to go ahead and change my information here to a generic United States. Now, again, if you're looking to go on LinkedIn and leverage it for a job search, for networking, for anything like that, I highly, highly recommend that you fill out your location information, because this is how people are going to start gauging your profile. And again, it's on the upper part of your profile, so it's one of the most important areas. And this is one of the areas within LinkedIn that people can see outside of just your profile. It may sometimes appear in comments, posts, and other areas of LinkedIn as well. So I do recommend that you add this. So here I'm going to go ahead and save since I've set my location. And as you can see, we've set our location and now it's populated to the city that we selected. And again, looking at the connections section, if you have over 500 connections, LinkedIn will display that as 500 plus connections. We'll talk about different strategies for getting to that 500 connection mark later in this course, but just keep in mind, once you have over 500, LinkedIn just shows this 500 plus connections and it doesn't detail all of your exact connection amount. And now we're going to go over the open to work here. So we can go ahead and click this little pencil icon. And from here, we can fill out our job preferences. This is essentially used if we're looking for a new role. This will make our profile a lot easier for recruiters to find. And I generally keep the visibility to recruiters only. That way, only people who are looking for someone to fill a certain position will find my profile and show that actual banner of open to work. So once you fill this out with your job titles, location types, the locations you're looking to work, if it's remote, just put whatever, as well as start date and employment types, you can go ahead and click save. And now recruiters will be able to find your profile much, much easier and they can see exactly what you're looking for. Now let's cover services here. So this is below the about section here on the default view of LinkedIn. We can go ahead and click this little check mark and we can fill out our about information for services. Now, depending on what you're offering, you can fill this out. If you don't have any services and you don't really run a business, adding services here really doesn't do much. If you're looking to work a full-time job, an internship, a part-time role, it's not really necessary because this is essentially advertising your services as if you were working as a business selling services. So that's pretty much that. I don't recommend filling this out. Again, if you're just looking for a full-time job, it's not required because it makes your profile look a little bit more business-oriented versus employee-oriented. Next, we have the featured area on LinkedIn. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the featured area is great if you're looking to add some of the highlights of your professional career or any sort of highlights of your life that could be applied to LinkedIn. So I posted my book here in the featured. I also posted a few different links to blog articles I wrote, different donation articles for different things I've done outside of work. And from here, you can go ahead and click the little pencil icon and you can go ahead and add posts, articles, links, or media, different pictures and things like that. So this is a great way to kind of just showcase your entire profile. And this is the best place to highlight essentially the broad aspect of your career or your journey so far. And for the activity section here, this is where all of your major posts are going to be. You can edit them here. You can remove things from public view and things like that. But essentially, as you start to make posts and comments and post images, that's where they'll appear right on your profile here in the activity section. So next, let's talk about your experience. Your experience here is essentially your job experience. So everything that you've done for a specific job, you could go ahead and put in here. As you can see, we can put the job title that you've had, the employment type, whether it was full-time, part-time, on contract, self-employed, internship, or something else. You can also put your start date as well as checking if or not you're currently working in this position. You can put the location as well if you'd like, as well as the location type and a brief quick description of what you've actually done. I recommend that you add different bullet points and things like that for the experience section here. And essentially the profile headline, it can be modified as well, but just keep in mind, this is the headline we've already created in this video, so you shouldn't need to modify that. Additionally, you can add different skills here. I actually added my PMP certification here as a skill. It's a kind of a quick way you can add certifications here as well, but don't go overboard. Primarily focus on the different skills that you've actually used in your job. So once you fill that experience section out, go ahead and click save, and then you can add any other jobs that you've had. So for example, if we go in here, we can see there's multiple different roles that someone might have had over the course of a few different years. For me, I don't really fill this out with too much detailed information, but if you'd like to show your experience, you can do that right there. Lastly, your education is pretty simple. This is where your formal degree goes. Again, you're just going to want to put associates, bachelor's, high school, whatever formal education you've had. And as you can see, you can go ahead and add your school name, your degree, your field of study, start date, as well as graduate or end date, how you did, if you graduated or not, different activities that you've done, as well as skills you picked up, and a brief description of what you did within your specific program or degree. So that's pretty much it. We've covered your LinkedIn location, LinkedIn connections, as well as open to work. We covered the services section, which isn't required unless you're looking to give or sell some sort of service. We talked about the featured section where you can put the best posts of you on LinkedIn or different links to articles outside of LinkedIn, as well as the activity section where all of your major posts are located, and your work experience or the experience section, lastly followed by the education, which should house your formal education such as a college degree, bachelor's degree, whatever it is.